Mermaids have always been super important to me. My mom has told me that on the day I was born, that she watched Splash in the delivery room. She looked down at me and realized, oh, my kid is a Pisces. I wonder if mermaids will be a big deal for them. Well, 33 years later, yeah, I would say they're a pretty big deal to me. I've studied them, theorized about them, hell, I've even been one. I was a professional mermaid for approximately 10 years. I know my stuff, is what I'm saying.
She's got a degree!
And I've noticed a few historical shifts in how we view mermaids. And that's what we're going to talk about today, using media and classic Western folklore. 98% of this essay comes from my own years of analyzing my very special interest, so sources might be a little bit limited, but there will be suggested reading, suggested watching, and suggested listening provided for you in the description box. If you have any sources or stories you'd like to add, or your own theories about mermaids, leave them in the comments below. Oh, yeah, hi, by the way. I'm JV, aka Jade Violet, Mermaid Jade for this video. I'm a voice actress, seamstress, writer, and creator here on the internet. If you'd like some interesting content, give this video a like and a comment, and subscribe for more stuff to come. This video will be broken up into 2 parts that I will release basically as soon as they're finished. I'm aiming to use footage that won't be demonetized, even though my channel isn't currently monetized. If you want to support me making videos and other content in the future, with your name in the credits amongst other things, I have made a Patreon, which will be linked in the description. Okay, so, part 1. Let's talk about classic mermaids from mythology, pre-19th century. In case you're clicking this video unsure of what mermaids are, 1, congratulations for getting out of the rock that you've been living under. Also, here's this definition. Mermaids are half human, half aquatic animal beings, with the upper half being human and the lower half being a little bit fishy. Typically fish, but occasionally eels, snakes, octopuses, seals, whales, dolphins, manatees, etc. They are said to live in various types of bodies of water. That is the working definition we will be using. In the Western canon, they are said to be inhumanly beautiful, often possessing some other alluring quality like a magical singing voice. They can be found sitting on rocks, brushing their hair, or some other such vain activity. That's pretty much it for what can be agreed upon, but over the years, this has come to also include nymphs that just sort of look like very pretty human women. I'll be honest, I'm not going to include them in this essay, mainly because I prefer the ones that aren't just pretty human women. Also, I'm going to point out here that I am focusing on Western mermaid mythology today and for the next video, largely because even though I have studied a bit of mermaids from other cultures, those aren't the cultures I come from, and I might not be the best person to speak on those cultures necessarily. I will link resources down below if I'm able to find them, of other people from those cultures discussing those myths. However, I will point out that one of my absolute favorites from Eastern mythology is the Niño from Japanese mythology. She's a yokai, she's fabulous, and I love her.
No, I don't think you understand. I'm obsessed.
But sadly, this is not a video about her. This is a video about the Western mermaid mythology. And the thing is, okay, I'm gonna maybe piss some people off with this one. Don't click away from the video after the sentence. Please, please, please. Western mermaid mythology was usually wildly sexist in nature, operating on the principle that mermaids exist to tempt men to destruction as agents of lust and sin. No, wait, please don't leave yet. Hear me out, come on. We're learning here today. So it's either that portrayal, or they are dangerous but generally don't sort of serve an actual purpose. Or they simply exist to fall victim to the desires of random amorous men. Here are 3 examples from classic mermaid tales. Again, from pre-19th century, and trust me, darling, we will get to it. Ondine. A pretty girl without a soul is adopted by 2 random humans and behaves soullessly until marriage. She winds up being kidnapped by apparently her uncle. Her husband cheats on her while she's, being kidnapped, and wifey comes back and kills him.
Bitch, you better be joking.
Melusine. Man marries random beautiful woman, has very weird babies with her, man violates woman's privacy and spies on her and finds out that she's the Starbucks fish lady. Man is distraught and kills her and his deformed children. Father of the Year award to that one. The Selkie. A random fisherman steals a woman's clothing, keeps her hostage, coerces her into sex, marriage, and then children. She finally finds her favorite jacket and goes the hell back home, and the man is sad about it for some reason. And honestly, girl, get your boots and your coat. Absolutely. Walk away from that man. Walk away from that nasty man. We stan a queen in this household. We stan a queen reclaiming her time. Abso-goddamn-lutely. Anyway, you get the format by now. Most of the time, these mermaids are simply minding their own business and are suddenly pursued by men without them necessarily consenting to it. And then the men do something stupid, like crash a boat into the rocks and sink despite being trained professionals, apparently. Honestly, it's giving catcalling and street harassment, a thing that I know a lot of my fellow women out there have experienced. Lesson for the boys out there, and really everybody. Maybe don't bother women on the street. Maybe. Just maybe. That's a general good lesson I think we can all agree with, right? Oh, chow, it is wild out here in these streets. Anyway, since the classic tales, we've seen this story flipped a little bit, so that we now see the story and the world through the mermaid's eyes. The mermaids then, in some of these stories, become agents of the oceanic Mother Nature. And, much like the rash of orcas sinking the boats of the bourgeoisie, they kill men for encroaching upon their turf. By, perhaps, going onto shore to kill a sailor, taking his heart and going home after a successful night out. First of all, this is powerful. A little bit girl boss energy. Second of all, I'll be honest, I love this because it gives the mermaids a task and a job and a purpose, and a reason for being that isn't solely based on male gratification. When given something to protect, they finally have a reason for the aggressive pursuit of the male sailors. This does, however, mean that their stories do kinda still revolve around men and the activities of men, which, to me, still makes them a little bit weaker than the stories we get nowadays. But we're not quite there yet. An example of this type of story would be Pirates of the Caribbean 4 on Stranger Tides, which I know a lot of my friends out there who are also professional mermaids and mermaid enthusiasts. I know that y'all saw this movie, but apparently it seems like not a whole lot of other people did, and not a lot of people liked that installment, which is weird to me. It has a really great soundtrack. Personally, I love the song Mermaids off of that soundtrack. I would review it here in depth, except it doesn't have any words to it, and I can't really play it here because YouTube and copyright. But it is linked below, and I would love it if you would go and give it a listen. It's pretty goddamn fun. And another example? The song Mermaids by Florence and the Machine. Now, y'all know the drill by now, but I'm going to read the words for you as if it were a poem. I highly recommend you listen to the song and then come back here, because there is a vibe to the music that is so good. It is incredible. It is genuinely one of my favorite songs ever. Here's Mermaids by Florence and the Machine. I thought that I was hungry for love. Maybe I was just hungry for blood. Seafoam woman on the shore, your prairie ghost, I'm a cottage whore. All the mermaids have sharp teeth, razor blades all in your feet. England is only ever gray or green, the girls glitter, striding glorious and coatless in the rain. I remember falling through these streets, somewhat out of place if not for the drunkenness. It makes my chest hurt to think of it, not of regret but of missing that. Cheerful oblivion. Cheerful oblivion. It was not all pain and pavement slick with rain and shining under lights from shitty clubs and doing shitty drugs and hugging girls that smelled like Britney Spears and coconuts. And with your mermaid hair and your teeth so sharp, you crawled from the sea to break that sailor's heart. You only get one night upon the shore, so dance like you've never danced before, and the dance floor is filling up with blood. But oh Lord, you've never been so in love. Cheerful oblivion. Cheerful oblivion. Cheerful oblivion. And the mermaids? They come once a year. They climb the struts of Brighton Pier. They come to drink, they come to dance, to sacrifice a human heart. And the world is so much wilder than you think. You haven't seen nothing until you've seen an English girl drink. Cheerful oblivion. Cheerful oblivion. Cheerful oblivion. Cheerful oblivion. Cheerful oblivion. God, this song, the lyrics to it are so evocative. For me, it conjures up some very specific nights I've had. Nights where I felt empty, and I went out to the club to get, oh, so very drunk, and find some random faceless man to fill that emptiness inside me, sacrificing that man to my own depression and loneliness. It didn't matter that he was a stranger. I'm a good enough actress to pretend that a man is interesting enough to get what I want. I would convince myself that we were both feeling the same thing, even if I could feel that they wanted more than just that one evening. All of that would happen, but after we exited the throes of passion, it was just a one-night thing that would leave me still empty, unsatiated, with my lips no longer wanting him, but now craving a hot, thick burger. Presumably, this is possibly the same type of night that Florence is talking about in the song, specifically referring to women who liked the nightlife in Brighton during the mermaid hair craze during the early 2010s, late 2000s. Honestly, the song generally is just a huge mood. One of the things I love lyrically about this song is that it references a lot of different mermaid myths all at once. It perfectly encapsulates being that mermaid from the very old school myths. But it also includes some of the romance from the newer versions. The mermaid in traditional Western myth is a beautiful woman with a fishtail that sinks ships by singing to sailors who then crash and die on the rocks along the coastline. You can clearly see there how they are a myth entirely about a man's temptation into lust, which, let's be honest here, that isn't nearly as interesting as the idea of figuring out why a mermaid would want to do that. As with many things, I asked myself the question, what is the end game in this? In this case, they get to keep living their life, and they are provided a free meal of some stupid lovesick man, or are they sitting there calling out for someone to love them but cursed by a higher power to never be able to have that? Perhaps one of these is true, perhaps they both are, or perhaps they are simply hungry. Why is it that we as women love mermaids so much? Is it because they represent a deep yearning, an animalistic desire, a strong, sharply felt hunger? My very dear friend Addison Peacock wrote an article in 2021 for Dread Central that I have linked below in full. It's called Unnatural Hunger: Female Desire and Cannibalism in Horror. It is brilliant. And I do, in fact, need you to read the whole thing. I remember at a certain point while she was writing it, we were on a Discord call, and she read it aloud for me as well as some other people on the call. And the last two paragraphs are ones that I have never stopped thinking about since I heard them for the first time. I think it captures the reason why we identify with mermaids as objects of power and desire. And now, I'm going to read that part for you. Also, before we get to the clip, I just want to say that my voice is going to sound a little different because I used a TikTok filter, because this TikTok filter weirdly makes me sound a lot like Addison Peacock. And yeah, so I figured I would try that out. If it's weird, sorry, but also I thought it was cool. Okay, thanks. Here we go.
Stories of women who satiate their hunger at all costs are, of course, not without their flaws. There is a place for flawed stories that excavate the messiest, darkest aspects of womanhood. If not just for the catharsis, then for the chance to see a mirror held to the secrets we feel we have to keep. If we listen to the voices that insist we keep these parts of us locked away, that we starve. We sit still and hold in our screams. We cannot survive it. Like silver, we will dissolve into nothingness and leave our weeping sisters behind. Until I have the tools to quiet those voices for good, I am more than happy to rest in the predator's den. Sometimes, the only way to keep from coming apart is to look to the animal within. To stare our desires in the eyes and refuse to blink. To strip our pretenses away and emerge as the rawest versions of ourselves. Someone that is unafraid to make a mess, to stain our pretty dresses, to take a big, juicy bite out of the world and swallow it down. I'm hungry. Aren't you?
I think back to another video I posted on this channel where I defended Catwoman as an imperfect but undoubtedly campy masterpiece of a film. Catwoman, in both the 2004 film and Batman Returns, is a woman who embodies the same energy as the mermaids in this song. She is someone who comes into her own power and gives into that energy to lead a life that to her feels more authentic. Why, yes, darling, it is a trans narrative, as is every movie with a mermaid in it, especially one who manages to go between the mermaid world and the human one. Selena has this specific line: "I don't know about you, Miss Kitty, but I feel so much yummier." She has effectively embraced a femininity that is authentic to her. It is raw and feral, much like that hunger for either love or blood. It is real for her. I don't believe it should be dangerous to live with that radical honesty and authenticity these feminine figures embody. I think the fear here is of a woman who isn't under male control. I think the desire to be a mermaid is simply the desire to be free from oppression. I think the thing the mermaid is hungry for is to live her best life. And just between us girls, from mermaid to mermaid, I gotta tell ya, I'm hungry. Aren't you? And that concludes part 1. Thank you so much for watching part 1 of this video. Thank you specifically to Addison for lending me your gorgeous, beautiful words. I love you, friend. Everyone go and follow Addison on Instagram and Twitter. I've linked both of those below. Go read her article as well. Follow me in all of those places too while you're at it. All of those are also in the description. Also, I want to say a massive thank you to all of the Mermaid Performers who let me use some of your videos. I have tried to make sure that I put all of the video credits both on screen while they were playing and also in the description with links for you to be able to check out all of these amazing professionals who do such a wonderful job. Thank you guys so much for allowing me to use these clips. Check out them on Instagram. They are so cool. Absolutely brilliant. And with that, be well, do as much good work as you possibly can, go for a swim, and of course, stay safe out there while you wait for part 2, where we will dive into more modern mermaid media.